Hi everyone, I'm Kat, and I'm going to be showing you around OASIS today. OASIS is a non-profit that derives the development, convergence, and adoption of open standards for global information society. So basically what they do is they help companies take those free software tools and kind of establish a standard for using them that is helpful. The reason that I've chosen this particular website and company, I guess in general, is because they are the standard managers for DITA. DITA, or the Darwin Information Typing Architecture, is an XML data model for authoring and publishing. It's an open standard maintained by OASIS, and that's the context of my teaching, as I help teach technical writers how to best utilize DITA in their work environments. So obviously, as you may be able to guess, I've picked OASIS because they are the managers of DITA. So I think their website's pretty cool. It's jam-packed full of information, and one of the downsides is that they also manage several other tools. They do standards for several different informational tools. So sometimes finding exactly what you want isn't always too particularly easy, but they've got some great tools like taking a tour, which will help the beginner learn how to really utilize this site. So the biggest area that I always direct any potential or new students to is actually in the standards. So if you come over to the standards page over here, you can scroll down really easy. And this is what I was saying by they manage a lot of different standards. As you can see, this list kind of goes on and on and on and on and on. But for this particular screencast, what we're going to be interested in is the Darwin Information Typing Architecture, or DITA, version 1.3. So you know it's going to be the latest one, and they always try and show you some of the backup ones. And that's really important because perhaps a company might not be utilizing the latest DITA version. So you always want to make sure you're looking at the information that's relevant to your setup. So most of the time I direct students to this particular link right here. And what this brings you to is a whole bunch of information relating DITA. They'll tell you why things were changed, the voting that the committees did. You can see the citations that were used. But most importantly, what we're looking for here is we're looking for this overview over here. This overview is going to show you the OASIS standard for utilizing DITA and the best practices that they've kind of hashed out. So we're going to click on this link here. And what that brings us to is a giant overview of all the different changes that have been made, status on any new projects, your copyright information, and at the very bottom, yet again, a little tricky to find, but this is where you're going to find the meat of the product, kind of really what you want to get into. And this is really the resource that I send new students to who are just learning about DITA for them to kind of get an initial understanding. So I'll go ahead and click on this About overview. So what this is this is a giant overview of the different specifications that are delivered via OASIS. And it's really great because once you actually get into the content that you need to kind of understand DITA, you'll start to get these really beautiful tables and figures that really help explain things. And I love that OASIS uses those instead of just doing text. So when you're coming into this website, you see a lot of text. But once you dig down, you really start to see that they are a great teaching website and a great organization that understands how to convey information clearly to people. So without straying too far away from the actual goal here, is I wanted to show you the website. So I'll pop back a little bit. That's specifically the kind of information that I want my students to see. But if we pop back to OASIS here, the reason I really like this website is because not only is it the housing for the actual standards, but they also provide a lot of other information. So for instance, they've got a news section. So you can see, OASIS in the news, but you can also see how DITA might be affected. So if something comes up with DITA and OASIS has to make a big standard change, you're definitely going to see it in the news page. Another helpful area is the events. So they are really a nonprofit centered around getting you the information that you need. So if you're a DITA person and you want to go to a conference about learning about the different tools and surrounding software programs that utilize DITA, you can always check here for maybe an event coming up in your area that would be really good to actually get some face-to-face time with people regarding that information. And then lastly, of course, you can get involved yourself. So there's different committees. If you want to look at if there's a committee in your area, or say you want to do the DITA committee, you can always come down here and look at the committee that actually works on the standard for DITA. And then there's other committees too that are kind of related to it. So for instance, DITA adoption. One of the biggest issues in my area is that students have a really hard time switching over from traditional technical writing methods to using DITA and writing with this markup language. So there's a committee based around DITA adoption and making it easier for people to adopt this new tool. So there really is just a plethora of information here. It's a great area for students to get involved, learn more, find out questions that they might have, and really kind of get the base. So when you're coming here, you're getting information from the source. You're not going through a blog that has read this information and they're interpreting it their own way. They're getting it from the source. And I really, even though it's a little wordy and text orientated, I really prefer my students to kind of come here and learn from the source, instead of going to Wikipedia, perhaps. So I'd highly recommend checking it out. Perhaps something you're teaching might be standardized by OASIS, so you can always check out and see what their standards are, their process, or even if any of the events or news kind of works for you. So if you have any questions, let me know.